So let's talk about the creator economy, because it feels like it's at a breaking point. It's not just evolving, it feels like we're heading for a total reset, one that could literally mean the death of the creator as we know it. Let's dig into what's really going on here.
You know, it's so easy to blame the algorithms, to blame the platforms for the struggles that creators are facing. But what if the biggest threat isn't coming from the outside? What if the real problem is other creators? In this insane, relentless race for attention, is the creator community actually eating itself alive?
Well, there's actually a name for this, and it's pretty intense: digital cannibalism. Basically, it's what happens when a market gets so unbelievably crowded that creators just start copying each other. And when that happens, brilliant, unique ideas get watered down and turned into cheap, disposable commodities. This is the engine driving the whole crisis.
Okay, so let's really get into the diagnosis here. Why does it feel like genuine, honest-to-God originality is becoming like an endangered species in the creator economy?
Okay, get ready for this number. It is just staggering. A 2024 study from MIT found that a whopping 68% of successful content was just a riff on something that had been published in the last 2 weeks. That's not inspiration, folks. That's mass replication. And that right there, that's a perfect example of something called the Memetic Death Spiral. I mean, think about it, right? Mr. Beast comes up with some brilliant, out-of-the-box video format, and what happens? Within weeks, you've got thousands of creators making their own version. What was once completely unique and valuable quickly becomes just another commodity, and it gets lost in this giant sea of sameness.
And look, this whole memetic death spiral thing, it has real and honestly pretty painful consequences. This constant imitation creates this frantic race to the bottom, where, let's be honest, almost everyone ends up losing. Want to see the real-world cost of all this sameness? Here you go. Check this out. Between 2019 and 2024, the average price of an online fitness course just plummeted. We're talking a 73% drop. And the reason? It's pretty simple, really. When you have thousands of courses all promising the exact same six-pack abs, the only thing left to compete on is price. And this brings us to a really fascinating, kind of messed up paradox. The more that creators compete with each other, the less valuable their individual work actually becomes. So who wins? The platforms. So you have all these creators making the content, right? But they're only seeing about 29% of the total value they generate. So where's the rest going? Well, the platforms. Because they own the distribution, the data, the whole infrastructure, they're capturing the other 71%. And if that wasn't bad enough, this whole cycle of burnout, it's speeding up. Let's take a classic YouTube hook, something like, "You won't believe what happens next." Think about it. In just 6 years, that hook went from being innovative and fresh to totally overused to the point where it's just completely ineffective, with click-through rates dropping like a rock. We, the audience, we build up an immunity to these tricks way faster than we used to, and it forces creators onto this hamster wheel where they constantly have to chase the next big thing. Okay, I know, this all sounds pretty bleak, right? But what if the answer isn't about playing this broken game better? What if it's about playing a completely different game altogether? It's time to talk about how to build what's called an invisible moat, a way to create value that you can actually defend.
And this quote from Naval Ravikant, man, it just hits the nail on the head. If you want to escape this commodity trap, you have to stop chasing whatever's hot right now. Real, defensible value comes from developing specific knowledge, the kind that can't be easily copied because it's born from your genuine curiosity and your passion.
So what is this defensible value, this moat? What does it actually look like in practice? Well, there are basically 3 main types you can build. First up, you've got the network effect. Think Duolingo. The more people use it, the better the service gets for everyone. Next, there are switching costs. Notion is a perfect example here. You, the audience, invest so much time and data into it that leaving just feels like a massive pain. And finally, the big one, brand is identity. This is when a brand like Patagonia becomes a part of who its customers are.
Okay, so how do you actually do this? Let's talk about 3 real strategies you can use to escape that commodity trap. First, there's vertical integration. This is where you control more than just your content. Emma Chamberlain is a great example. She didn't just talk about coffee, she launched her own coffee brand. Second, you can go hyper-personal. Patrick O'Shaughnessy did this with his Invest Like the Best podcast. He went so incredibly niche that he basically has no direct competition. Or third, you can specialize by dominating a unique intersection of skills. Look at David Perel with writing online. He basically owns that space.
You know, all of this is really pointing to a much bigger, more fundamental shift. I think we're leaving the era of the individual creator behind, and we're entering something new, an era that's built on sustainable systems, not just on individual stars. And this right here is the key distinction to make in your head. The goal isn't to be a producer of content, doing every little thing yourself. The future is about being an orchestrator of systems. Tim Ferriss is a perfect example. He doesn't edit his own podcast, right? He outsources all that stuff so he can focus on the one thing that only he can do, finding incredible guests and steering the conversation. He's orchestrating the whole thing. And the advantages of thinking like this, of thinking like an institution, they're huge. For an individual creator, all the risk is personal. But for an institution, risk is spread out across a whole portfolio. A creator's career has a shelf life, you know? But a system can last long after its founder is gone. It's just a more resilient, more scalable way to build something that lasts.
Because at the end of the day, true power, the most defensible businesses, they aren't built on just content. They're built on owning the full stack, the creation, the distribution, and the data. I mean, look at a giant like Bloomberg. They don't just write the news, they own the terminals that deliver the news and all of the data that powers it. That's not a moat, that's a fortress.
So, this is the question I really want to leave you with. As this whole creator economy resets itself, are you going to keep playing the old game? Are you going to stay just a creator, fighting for scraps in a field that's getting more crowded by the second? Or are you going to start thinking bigger? Are you going to start building an institution?